Sadly, sadly, we got 5 choppy years. But you know what? If you own Bitcoin, in my opinion, if you own Bitcoin, you know you got the right asset and you can sit back and watch the show. This is it. This is the end of the fiat era, sometime in the next 10 years. So and once you kind of get to understand that and see it, even though you realize there may be choppiness from here to the end, you're kind of like, it gives you a lot of confidence that, gosh, I'm on the right side of it and it's going to get better. That, to me, that's a much happier way of living than, oh my God, this is terrible. It's never going to end. I'm getting eaten alive by inflation. I don't know what the hell to do about it. Mentally, that's a bad place to be.
Hey guys, welcome to Everyday Finance. Larry Lepard explains his audacious and eagerly awaited July 2025 Bitcoin prediction in this video, providing a thorough analysis of why he thinks the upcoming months could be historic for cryptocurrency. According to Larry Lepard's famous stock-to-flow S2F model, Bitcoin is currently approaching the explosive stage of its cycle, where price action can go parabolic as rising demand meets scarcity. He notes that the current on-chain metrics, miner behavior, and macroeconomic trends all point to a possible breakout, and that Bitcoin has followed his model with remarkable accuracy over several cycles. In addition to hitting six figures, Larry Lepard believes that Bitcoin is poised to soar well above that mark, potentially hitting approximately $250,000 by the end of 2025 if current trends continue. He describes how long-term holders are snatching up supply, while retail interest is still low, causing institutional accumulation to rise quietly in the background and setting up the ideal conditions for a supply shock. Larry Lepard contends that the allure of Bitcoin as a hedge asset is increasing as central banks continue to exercise caution with regard to interest rates and inflation concerns. Additionally, he highlights the impact of the recent halving, which has historically caused explosive bull runs within 12 to 18 months and cut new supply in half. According to Larry Lepard, we are getting close to the turning point where the market shifts from incredulity to euphoria, as June 2025 falls exactly within this historic post-halving window. He cautions that, similar to past cycles, the majority of investors will not notice the early warning signals and will only buy when prices are already skyrocketing. For this reason, he believes that the real opportunity zone is now rather than later.
Yeah, no, I've been going to him since the very beginning, and I remember Jack Mahler's announcing El Salvador, and yeah, and I mean, there was a group of us, but it was a fraction of the size of Nashville, a fraction. It was stinky by
Yeah.
comparison, and so yeah, it's very clear to me that this is a real movement. I mean, the ETFs is a big thing. Larry Fink is a big thing. I mean, and you've got these world-class investors. You've got Paul Tudor Jones, who's one of the best investors of the last 30 years, saying, that it's the fastest horse in the monetary debasement race. You got Ray Dalio, a brilliant, hedge fund manager, one of the best in the country, who's was a big gold guy, and has finally come around to, gee, this is digital gold, and I really like it. So it's, people are waking up to it, and what is it? Sailor says you want to buy something that, can't be stopped, everyone needs, and nobody understands. Because and it's the nobody understands that gives you the opportunity. Because once everybody understands it, it's going to be more fairly priced. And there will come a time, by the way, when the returns per year will go down because
Yeah.
we're much further. I mean, the reason it's doing so well right now is we got double curves going on. So gold's going up now too because of the sovereign debt crisis, right? But Bitcoin's gone much faster than gold because gold's been around 5,000 years. Everybody knows about gold, wants gold. They've already bought gold. They get it. But Bitcoin is digital gold, and therefore, you've got it goes up when the government prints money, and the government's, will print money. We know that. The book will convince you of that. And then it also goes up, because you've got this adoption curve going on, because right now, 5% of the citizens get it and own it, and 95% don't even know they need it yet. But guess what? In the next 10 years, a big part of that 95 is going to realize they do need it, and it's going to go up a lot. Well, I look, there already has been some real change, and there's no doubt. I think what he's going to uncover is some real waste and fraud that will get cleaned up. I think the important thing from an investor point of view and from a country point of view, from all of us point of view, is to understand how much is that, how much can be solved. I mean, the amount of deficit that we're running is just way too large to solve via, cleaning up some fraud. I mean, let's say the fraud, they get 5 or 10% of the total budget, but the total budget, in last fiscal year, we spent $6.75 trillion. 80% of that was Medicare, Medicaid, interest, and defense. So only like 1.27 was everything else. So, and the deficit was 1.8. So if you took everything else to zero, you'd still have a deficit. So, you know, you just can't get to those solving the problem. I applaud it. I applaud the notion of trying to make government more efficient. I applaud the notion of audits and not spending money in areas we don't need to spend money. And, maybe, they can spend less in defense. But you just can't get there, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. I mean, we're way too far down the monetary and fiscal irresponsibility track. Now, maybe over some period of time, we can get there. But I think the notion of instantly fixing it's not realistic. It's just not realistic. It's going to take years, arguably a decade to get us back to some sort of a form of balance. And while we're getting there, we might as well try and return to sound money, because that will, I think, solve a lot of other problems too. So I applaud, trying to rein in government excess. I think everybody does. But I
Hmm.
also, I mean, Elon's an entrepreneur. He dreams big, he talks big, he projects big. I get it. That's how he's made things happen. But I mean, in 2018, he said, you'll be able to buy a Tesla. It'll be self-driving. You can rent it out as a taxi next year. That's 2018. Now, so 7 years ago. Now, and it didn't happen, right? But to his credit, I recently rode in my brother-in-law's Tesla, and we said, take us from Wellesley to Boston. The damn thing drove us the whole way there without any problems. I mean, we actually are pretty much at self-driving right now. So, I wouldn't bet against, eventually solving these problems. I just, they're going to take time, is kind of, my estimation on it.
5 choppy years.
Yeah, exactly.
5 choppy
That's
years.
exactly right. Sadly, we got 5 choppy years. But you know what? If you own Bitcoin, in my opinion, if you own Bitcoin, you got the right asset, and you can sit back and watch the show. I mean, my level of hope pre-Bitcoin as a gold guy, tilting at the windmills, trying to fight the battle with the central banks, I was pretty despondent because they have paper gold, and they've been winning for years and years and years. This tool is a better tool. and with Bitcoin, I've got a lot of confidence we're going to win. That this is it. This is the end of the fiat era. Sometime in the next 10 years. So that and once you kind of get to understand that and see it, even though you realize there may be choppiness from here to the end, you're kind of like, it gives you a lot of confidence that, gosh, I'm on the right side of it, and it's going to get better. That, to me, that's a much happier way of living than, oh my God, this is terrible, it's never going to end, I'm getting eaten alive by inflation, I don't know what the hell to do about it. Mentally, that's a bad place to be.
After plunging to a 4-week low, Bitcoin momentarily recovered above $15,000. However, the recovery appears to be more of a setup than a real reversal. Many market participants view this move as a classic bull trap, baiting overly leveraged traders hoping for a breakout only to be caught in another downturn, rather than as a sign of strength. Big players may be offloading into strength, as evidenced by the liquidation of a massive whale position near $14,000. Furthermore, the suspicion that this rebound is more manipulation than momentum has grown as a result of rumors of coordinated sell-offs sparked by renewed tensions over US-China tariffs. Wider economic concerns are also rapidly developing. The Federal Reserve's continuous warnings about tariff risks have alarmed markets even more, and unemployment claims recently reached an 8-month high, raising concerns about a possible recession. Uncertainty is growing in the cryptocurrency space in particular because of persistent worries about custodial risk, particularly the potential for rehypothecation, in which platforms may lend out user assets without providing clear disclosure. Many investors are in the dark about the state of the US government's strategic Bitcoin reserves as a result of this and a concerning 3-month silence. The road back to about $110,000 is still very unclear in the absence of greater transparency or a significant fundamental change. Given that the market is currently balancing between panic and opportunity, traders are on edge and waiting for the next big move.
Well, and most importantly, the base layer cannot and will not be corrupted. And that's the key. I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that you have a distributed base layer based on mathematical protocol that, everyone would have to vote to change and nobody's going to vote to do that. That's the key. We've got a truth machine. We've got a monetary truth machine that never existed prior to the invention of this code. And that is a big, big, big deal. And just as, like I say, I remember being back in the internet back then, and I sensed, boy, I think this is going to turn into stuff. I mean, pets.com, well, okay, selling kibble on the internet wasn't really what made sense back then, but you could just kind of see, hey, having everybody connected, that's going to matter. And then, I mean, actually one of the first big use cases back then, I remember when it came out, I was so impressed by it, was eBay. And it was
Mhm.
it was a worldwide swap meet. Oh, you got something you want to sell? Put it up on eBay, and it was just, okay, swap meets have existed for years, but you had to go down to the corner and, somebody was having a swap and you saw crap that was for sale at a discount. And well, what if you could connect everybody in the world and say, hey, I want to buy a used pair of this or a used that. Oh, here's mine. And here's how you do it on eBay. And, just these kinds of things will organically spring up as we go forward. We can't even see them. We don't even know what they are now, but they're coming. They're definitely coming. I mean,
I
there's so many reasons to buy some, and I mean, look, somebody said, I had a really nice guy reviewed my book, and he said, look, if you can read this book and you don't want to buy some Bitcoin, you're an idiot. I mean, it was kind of like,
Yeah.
because the argument. I mean, I tried to make a really compelling argument, and I hope, but we'll see. I mean, I've tested it on people my age, skeptics, etc. And one guy came back and said, "Gosh, I get it. You're totally right, but I'm just afraid of computers." And I was like, "Yeah, I get it. Okay, well, get one of your kids to help you.
Yeah.
It's not that hard." Or I mean, that's another thing that's really been a big positive, as you and I are both aware of. And obviously, we don't think it's as good a solution as owning it natively and being self sovereign, but the ETFs, it's a pretty good solution. I mean, if you're a boomer and you don't want to get a Trezor and learn how to do, fine. I mean, sure, you've got 6102 risk, but you can put some of your retirement assets into this thing, as you should, and it'll show up on your Morgan Stanley statement, that you own
Mhm.
FBTC. And so there've been a lot of things that are, and that's just going to continue. There's just going to be more and more easier ways of doing this. So
According to Google Gemini's most recent forecast, Bitcoin will reach about $13,000 in 2025, a slight 1.5% increase from its current price of about $11,469 today. This prediction, which is based on analysis powered by AI, takes into account macroeconomic variables, growing institutional interest, and the naturally finite 21 million coin supply of Bitcoin. Gemini sees the recent 3.17% daily and 4.1% weekly declines as a normal correction within a larger bullish cycle. The scarcity of Bitcoin, a fixed supply combined with rising demand, remains the main bullish narrative. Institutional participants are increasing their efforts. The recent addition of 4,000 more Bitcoin by MicroStrategy, which now has 580,250 coins, reflects the growing confidence of businesses in using Bitcoin as an inflation hedge. Meanwhile, traditional institutions are finding it easier to access cryptocurrency thanks to the rise in Bitcoin ETFs, particularly BlackRock's, which currently manages over $70 billion in assets. The strengthening fundamentals of Bitcoin are supported by this convergence of institutional and retail flows. The share price of Tokyo-based MetaPlanet Inc. surged 26.49% to $11.65 during Friday's U.S. session after the company announced a $5.44 billion equity financing plan to strengthen its Bitcoin reserves. In order to protect shareholder value, MetaPlanet is issuing 5.55 billion shares through floating strike warrants, which allows it to leverage volatility without the need for conventional dilution. Simon Gerovich, the CEO, confirmed that this approach is aggressive and defensive. The company's long-term belief in Bitcoin's function as a treasury asset is demonstrated by its goal to hold 210,000 BTC by 2027, or about 1% of the entire supply